For me, there is something radical about celebrating love, sex, expression, solidarity, connection in this world that very often discourages, the difference.
We record this podcast on Gadigal land in Sydney and pay our respects to all First Nations elders, healers, and storytellers. As therapists, we recognise the wisdom that lives in land, body, and spirit, as well as the queerness that runs through nature's veins. This always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gestalt Me Gently. I'm sitting here with my companion, Dabaco Sunset, and we have a wonderful, wonderful special guest here with us today called Gregory Poll. Gregory Poll runs Growing Heart Psychotherapy here in Sydney, and he'll be telling you, no doubt, a little bit more about his practice. And also, we're just kind of lucky to have Gregory here today. Well, I feel we're lucky because Gregory was one of my teachers that I got to experience at the TRIA Institute here in Sydney. And it's wonderful to have him on board to share his knowledge, his queerness, and his whole, lots of wonderful treats in store. I'll just leave that to Gregory, I think. So there's a part of me that's checking in at this point in time. I love our little kind of check-ins at the beginning just to kind of check in with nervousness. So I'm just noting a bit of excitement in myself. We're sitting here in this chair with you, Gregory and Dabaco, and just kind of moderating a little bit of kind of surges and waves of excitement. And then I've got to cool my jets a little bit. So I'm in a good place. So Dee, I'm curious to know, Dabaco, how you're arriving this morning.
Yeah, I'm feeling warm, both in my heart and in my body. I'm kind of riding my little electric heater underneath the desk here as I feel the chills of a Sydney winter and also the lingerings of a cold that I've been journeying. So winter has caught up with me well and truly, but I'm really feeling excited and bubbly for our chat with Gregory today.
Thanks for that. Lovely to hear that. And Gregory, I'll pass the baton over to you, my dear. How are you arriving today?
Well, I'm arriving with excitement. Certainly, there's lots of excitement. And as I say excitement, I recognize the mix of the feelings fear and joy together. So that's kind of arousal, kind of very happy yet conscious experience within myself. But I'm very curious. That's not usual for me. That I am in this context. Therefore, I'm having my little boy on my lap here, who is very much attached to me, and he gives me lots of warmth. And his weight actually on my lap is allowing me to ground myself more and be in the present moment.
Beautiful. And for those that are listening just to the audio podcast of this and not the YouTube version, you might not have been able to see Gregory's lovely little dog Vidal, who he held up just then, who seems like is also being a hot water bottle for you, Gregory.
Definitely it is, yeah.
I feel like starting with a little bit of an intersection of queer expression and Gestalt therapy, because those are the two pillars that make up our Gestalt Me Gently podcast. And when I think of you, Gregory, I think of fashion, I think of style, I think of someone that has their aesthetic quite clean and precise. And it makes me think back to a supervisor that I've worked with, not you, someone else was telling me, a therapist should be a blank canvas. They should wear something that their client isn't even aware of what they're wearing after they walk out of the session, something very neutral. But I wonder what your take on this is. Like, how do you dress in the therapy room? Do you prescribe to and a neutral palette, or are you bringing more of yourself in the therapist chair?
I love the question. I'm smiling because when I'm hearing about you or praising me about my fashion and sense of style, this is not certainly how I appear to be right now. I'm very, very comfortable and very casual to, today. But coming back to your questions, Dabaco, I have to tell you, I've had lots of kind of solid thoughts about how I want to appear in my practice versus how I should be appearing in my practice. And I've decided to go with the notions that there is as many, Gestalt therapy as many therapists are. And so we should never, or I would say, I would never ever would like to give up on exposing that part of myself that is important to me, and include in my relationship with my clients, include that very important part of who I am in that space between me and them. And how I appear, how I express myself is a one of the big part of who I am in this world. And so I like to appear in my sessions feeling free, feeling good about myself, and at the same time, having a full respect for people I am with. So, to answer that question, I'd say I came up with my way of moderation between my full way of and joy of expression myself, as opposed to be that neutral canva where nothing big about me can possibly interrupt the client process, if that makes sense. Um, I'm pretty much happy about being most of the time self-expressive yet conscious, and sometimes I'm give myself a little bit of more freedom in that, and noticing the reaction or response from my clients, and we can work on that, because there's always some valuable awareness for the clients in that context, in that place, in that moment.
I love that. It really touches on the in between that Gestalt therapy really values. It's not just about the client in a silo, but how you show up and how you bring yourself in. It's co-creating that field. Yeah, beautiful.
It's whatever I bring, whatever uniqueness I bring to the therapy is valuable for the sake of what is going on in between me and my client, and what is valuable as a rising awareness for my clients. And I believe that we should not avoid that, and we should not be afraid of that. As per one of the relational principle of Gestalt, we or I would say, I put myself on the horizontal, the same level with people I'm seeing. So why I would have to discourage myself from something, or why I would have to hide from something? I want to feel the same sense of freedom and joy as I want that for my clients.
Lovely. That's so well said, Gregory. And as I heard you saying that, I just felt that lovely permission piece for authenticity, for you to show up and be who you are in your robes, in your queerness, with your lovely dog by your side in your lap. And yeah, there's a wonderful holding there. And I get that sense when I'm with you that there's a wonderful take me as I am. And I notice that your confidence that's there, even in the street, and in various settings, that it's just like, this is me, baby. And I really admire that, because it's I think for me that takes some guts and or just some beauty in belief in self. In belief in self is what I'm saying.
Well, I work
Yeah.
very hard to find that freedom.
Mm.
Freedom,
Mm.
the independency in the way how I express myself, how I look, and relate to other, how I make connection. I've decided a long time ago that I won't be driven by external expectations.
I was just thinking, maybe like from a heteronormative lens, and being a queer person inside, a heteronormative culture. Like, I'm just wondering how you see yourself operating in that from a therapeutic point of view. And do you sit with your clients and speak about like difference in that sense? And yeah, just some of that stuff that might come up in a therapeutic environment, where you might bring in yourself to a client around your difference.
I would say that my queer perspective shapes and navigate my world with intentionality, resilience, and empathy. And so understanding myself outside of that heteronormative frameworks, um, it has taught me the incredible value of authenticity. Uh, Not just how I express my gender or sexuality, but in how I generally show up in the relationships, community spaces, or my professional environment. Living queerly for me means basically questioning norms, traditions, in this work, creating my chosen families, and holding a space for other people who don't fit into mainstream
Mm.
expectations. So
Mm.
it is not just about identity, it is about how I approach, generally speaking, justice, creativity, connection. And in that, how I build more inclusive and affirming spaces wherever I go. The last thing I'd like to say here is that my queerness, also informs my joy and excitement around my sexuality. For me, there is something radical about celebrating love, sex, expression, solidarity, connection in this world that very often discourages, the difference.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you bring in that joy and that celebration aspect of queerness, because particularly if I listen to what's going on in the zeitgeist around queer identity and, you know, the push against trans folks, particularly what's going on in the States, there's this, huge resistance and fight, and yeah, it feels very heavy. So I love that, you've brought in the lightness, the play, the celebration, the joy, and all the great things that that brings.
I've chosen those words deliberately, celebration and joy, because in my therapeutical space, as much as I respect and I hold my clients with expressing and owning and talking about pain and the suffer and the anger, I'm actually putting more attention and focus on celebration and the joy of something
Mm.
that was never acknowledged or affirmed or included.
And that's such an important part of therapy as well, to celebrate those moments, because it's very easy. I know from my own personal therapy and working as a therapist, to get bogged down in the problems, in the crisis, in the issues, in the muck. but to be able to have those moments to rise up and sing and dance and kind of twirl amongst the stars and be like, how good is that you managed to do that, and let's celebrate that together. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
It, in fact, now I'm just reminding myself that that approach with my queer clients encouraged me to support my non-queer clients in that aspect very much, and people love that. People
I don't know.
go very keenly on that to talk about freely without any pressure, without any tension about something that normally is is considered as a taboo, or should not be approached easily. Yeah.
As I heard you speaking those words, I was just also thinking about the way in which heteronormativity defines behavioral codes, or it's like a template that I think sometimes people don't realize that they're traveling in. And I think the wonderful thing I'm hearing you say is there's, like, I think you used the word, there's a radical enlivenedness around stepping beyond that and finding the qualities of joy and celebration and love within that. And yeah, it just really resonated with me because I think maybe that comes out of like deep trauma for me, of kind of going, oh, okay, I've kind of been down that other avenue where I've had to really protect myself. And then through my survival, through my resilience, I've found ways to step out into the world with self-confidence, self-esteem, not diminishing myself. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of curious to know what's behind that for you, Gregory. And like, was there a turning point in this stepping into this stronger belief in yourself?
I guess we would have to come back to the beginnings of my journey with Gestalt therapy itself, because that's where the whole process of understanding everything has happened to me, and this is how I was shaped and how I was. Growing from one level of my awareness about myself to another one, and hence how I finished with my sexuality and my identity. So answering your question, Matt, I would say that it started from philosophy and principles of Gestalt that you know first of all informed me how to be a better human being, uh, where I was invited to find out for myself how I respond, how I react to the different situations in my world, and what it's like to be pretty much me, what it's like to be me. And from that place, um, becoming a practitioner uh, become just a byproduct of my excitement around my change and my personal growth. So I would say initially at the beginning, two things that shaped my new way of connecting with my identity and sexuality in the world was by awareness and the notions of change, seeing seeing myself and the world more clearly, and hence because of that, having more different ways of interacting with people and world around me, that gave me more power, more strength. And the notion of that the statement that I am the master of my fate, it was very, very attractive. So with that, the whole notion of the change, that everything in this world, including me, is not fixed and is in constant change, gave me the solid understanding that the reality is in a living moment, is in a here and now. And so my awareness about myself and my people is growing and shaping really in the moment of the here and now. And so that process is happening, as that process is happening, uh, not only from outside of my world, but also within myself. So now I know I live in a concrete reality and trust that trust on what I feel and what I see, rather than what I think I feel or what I think I see. So
Mm.
that was the beginnings of my transformation and my change, and having the whole perspective of my career perspective of how I live my life. Mm, I would I would say that it happened a long time ago, and this is the journey. This is ongoing journey. This is never ending journey, and yeah, it gave me a profound sense of solidity within myself, how I live my life, how I shape my boundaries with people, how I see myself as a queer person, how I relate to this world as a queer person.
I feel really inspired after you shared that, Gregory. And, you took us a little bit further back into your story of how you came across Gestalt. I'm also wondering if you might be open to telling us a little bit more of your history. So you're Polish, and you might have even mentioned to me at one point that your sister's also a therapist. And then I sit with curiosity.
Yeah,
Yeah, I sit with curiosity if you're coming from like a lineage of therapists, and is this something in your bloodline? What's the story there?
that's a good beginning. Is that yes, I am Polish, and as I said, I was born and bred in Poland, and I lived in that country for 32 years, and then I've decided to change my context to come to Australia, and at that time, like watching myself from from now, well, I can say that I was running away from myself. I was running away from
Mhm.
all confusion and suffering of myself, or what was be to me. I couldn't understand that. So um uh, i was uh, I was actually uh, lying, saying long time ago that I was leaving my country to find my new adventure, to be curious, and to give myself a new opportunity. Yes, that perhaps was some part of it, but I say now that that living in my self, living within myself, was very confusing. It was very confusing, and through the years, it became more and more unbearable. Yes, my sister was my first, the biggest inspiration. She's a Gestalt therapist herself, so I through long conversations with her, I was able to notice extreme change within herself, and I became curious about that. I become curious how the same person can be so different within a short period of time. Not short period, but relatively short period of time. And that was the time when I become curious about the Gestalt, about what is this, uh, what is that philosophy, what is that principles that itself gives you the power and strength. And so initially, I remember I've started to having a lot of therapy on myself. That that was my first experience of Gestalt, and that powerful experience, quite often painful, joyful, yet liberating, brought me to studying Gestalt. And so I was extremely happy to do this, to learn more about it. And I have to tell you that my first 3 years of studying, it was only about me, myself, and and as I said, pretty much evolving and growing that awareness about myself as I've noticing, changing, liberating myself, shaping more, robust relationships with people and the boundaries within myself and the world. Everything was so attractive, so contagious that um, I didn't even notice when it become pretty much the whole core of my life. And so I say again, who I am now as a Gestalt therapist is a really purely a byproduct of what I was doing for myself, what I was attending to myself, and that was the product of the pure joy and excitement about my change. And I thought, I believed, and I wanted to share that with others. And
Mm.
that was a good, pretty much, point and excuse because what I was doing at that time in my life was near even close to what I was wanted and what I was desired and what I was enjoying. So that was my time of, reinvention and transforming and transitioning into a different world, very uncertain, yet very powerful.
Oh. Yeah, I really resonate with that transformation of going on the journey of studying Gestalt. Like I feel it. I experience what happens when that awareness raising increases. I get a better sense of my boundaries. I get a better sense of like relational dynamics. And in my own experience, sometimes there's big collateral that comes with that as well. Like I had a 4-year relationship that ended pretty much as I came to the end of my studies. And I think there's part of that is related to how much have changed through the process of becoming a Gestalt therapist and all the gifts that I received through that training. And I also resonate with that desire to now give back those gifts and share them with community. And as I say these words, I also can't help but like hear myself speaking, and it kind of sounds cultish in a way, but I think some of the most um, potent personal development, self-actualization journeys can sound quite cultish. I mean, there's real power that I feel with the Gestalt movement. Um, and yeah, really, really grateful that I can share this experience and journey alongside both of you as well.
As I hear you, the first part of what you say, I'd say obviously everything what I learn and what I become aware has a big consequences in our life. And as I'm shaping my awareness and growing it, there will be some responsibilities behind that into what we are going to do with
Mm.
what we are aware of. And very often what is become aware cannot be unaware. It cannot. And so it is shaping and creating a new consequences in your whole life. The boundaries you are shaping, they have like a ripple effect, a ripple effect on everything, every aspect of your life. And so the change becomes from that point, and that become a bit scary, but at the same time very liberating, very empowering. Um, you know, uh, you've mentioned the word cultish. I don't, I don't put any kind of meaning to that. I don't even care about whatever you call it. It's I would say it's fine as long as something that you're doing, uh, something that you are committed to, is kind of freeing you, and bringing you closer to your integrity.
Mm,
It creates less and less dissonance between what you do and what you value. And that space is beautiful. When I'm in that space of closeness, in between how I do, what I do, how I behave, and my values, that puts me in that beautiful state of being, very independent, strong, self-driven person, fully aware of my weaknesses, fully aware of my emotions, my feelings, fully aware of what and how I do my life.
mm.
Mm.
I feel so
Wow.
alive as you say how it can bring you closer to your integrity, and that also, feels like something that I'm continuing to stay curious about and work on, where I'm at on my own personal journey. So I love those words. It kind of made my
Ooh.
heartstrings sing.
I like
Yeah.
being stimulated. You know,
Yeah.
stimulated is such a great energy for discovery, for being curious, and so discovering something new in yourself. I love that.
There's a piece in this too for me. I'm just thinking it through and just resonating with you both with all these shares, but also I think for me over my journey of the last 4 or 5 years is just something that's always been in me and been there, but I had covered it all up because I had created a story, and it was stuff around, am I worthy? Is it necessary? And I should I just stay in my little quiet box and just kind of have these internal thoughts and not kind of take it out into the world. What I found in the journey was just like these veils have lifted, and getting in contact with self and self-processing has given me the permission piece to actually step out and be bolder, be more playful, and yeah, to find joy, that radical kind of joy that we spoke about earlier. And that's what this Gestalt Me Gently has come out of, is just this opportunity to go, wow, like let's dream together here on this stuff, and just kind of keep removing the veils for myself, and just go beyond and go beyond, go beyond, and just see what's beyond, and keep getting excited by the here and now rather than shutting it down. So yeah, that's just a little resonance on my behalf.
Yeah, as you're talking about being worthy, Matt, asking yourself that question, and connecting that to what we talk about, heteronormativity. Uh, I'd say that that aspect, that heteronormative aspect of my life, made me question always whether I was enough, whether I was worthy of love, stability, um, or joy as I am. I also notice always devaluing my experience.
Mm.
So undoing it took a time, and conscious effort.
Mm.
Process of unlearning my shame, reclaiming my space, embracing my queerness, as a actual source of strength and deficiency. So now I would say, in confronting heteronormativity, I've built, quite strong ground, and expansive sense of self worth that is rooted, in me, in my truth, in my authenticity, in my relationship with my community, and gave me that freedom to live my life, not exist, but live my life on my own terms.
Yeah, you raised some great
Beautiful.
points and themes around shame, around questioning, whether I'm worthy of love, and these pieces around self-confidence and queerness. Matt and I in our, you know, slowly growing private practices, we're mostly specializing in working with queer community. And I'm really curious to ask you a bit about, where your specialty is and what kind of themes you see often showing up with your clients. Is there kind of like an archetype that keeps on coming back and visiting you, or a few of them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dabaco, and allow me also to shape and form my in my practice who I want to work with, and what I want my practice to look like. And I have to tell you, if I'm thinking about my niche or my specialty, it would be undoubtedly, I would say it's trauma, work with trauma, especially childhood developmental trauma, and how's that impacting and shaping and conditioning people in their life and how they do life. Anything else, I would say, is very much parallel. But I'd say to you that in terms of who I work with, I've never put any limitations to that. And so I see in my practice my people who are coming from everywhere, every age, every sexuality, status, different needs. Anybody is really invited in my practice. And so I see a lots of people ex like coming with a different or presenting different populations, but I'm noticing also a growing percentage of queer people. And I imagine, and I would not be surprised at all actually that, being me a queer would be one of the biggest, aspect of why is that happening. And I'm very, very happy about that. And there's a lot of things I'm learning. In fact, this is the beauty of my work, and this is how I love and why I love my work, is because with supporting my clients, I'm actually continuously keep growing and learning about myself, especially around queer community.
I love that,
Mm.
ever-present invitation for parallel process.
Yeah.
That is also such a gift of working as a therapist. When a client comes in and presents something, I'm there with them, I'm working with them, and then there's also this little part of me that's having its own kind of bracketed experience, or maybe what they're bringing in has evoked something from my history, or something that I'm also journeying in a slightly different way.
I would like to say that my queer clients, they come with the same needs as other people, or I would say non-queer people. I would love to say that because basically on the basic, this is always the same need for connection and growing the sense of self. However, with time of working with queer people, I'm also aware of some needs are stronger. And as a therapist,
Mm.
we need to be aware more and skilled and knowledge more about the queer population because the needs are a little bit different.
Yeah, I would second that. Some of this work that I do as well, it's kind of like, and I've spoken this in other episodes that we've done here, is just that I see you, you see me, and that we're inside like a queer lived experience. And sometimes I do give that permission piece just to be authentic to you have my permission to talk about sex on premise venues and that I won't be shaming you for that. So there are permission pieces that I feel is uniquely queer to our lived experience. And that's just one example out of many. So there's kind of like a way, I guess I think there is some difference there. And yeah, you kind of spoke about unlearning the shame and that's a big part as well, that I feel that in the therapeutic environment is quite specific to a queer identity, as to how I try and create support for people so that they're understanding that some of this is environmental. It's not coming from the heart type stuff. But wow, we've really kind of gone deep, guys. This has been an incredible session. I'm just kind of also sitting in, just any kind of unfinished business here. Like, I'm just looking at the clock. We've been having a nice yarn here, and we're kind of drawing closer towards the end of our session. And is there any pieces that either Dabaco or Gregory that you'd like to bring in to kind of wrap this session up?
I feel like, just to add on to what we were talking about there, this feels really present for me around queer therapists working with queer clients. Like, even just last night, I had a client come back who I haven't seen in almost a year. And one of the things he shared was, Dabaco, I came back to see you because I knew you wouldn't judge me. And that just, even as I'm sharing those words, like, I'm feeling touched, I'm feeling like a little bit of water welling up in my eyes. Like, that's a really special therapeutic relationship that, even after a year, I still remember them, they still remember me, and we return to do the work because there's safety there. And that's a real affirming part of this work for me.
Especially for queer population, there will be a profound need for expression of themselves, for expression of joy, for expression, non-normative forms of love, sex, connection, that can be explored in a therapeutical, space without any judgment. That's extremely important, and that is one of the many of unique set of needs that queer people are coming to, is actually to be in that non-judgmental, fully affirming, including space. That's something a therapist needs to really, really understand, especially people who who may be not knowledgeable about that population.
Yeah, Gregory, for people that are listening or watching that might want to be learning more about your work, or figuring out if they could book in a session with you, how do they best get in touch?
The best way is just jumping on the internet and click Growing Heart Psychotherapy, or just my name, Gregory Poll. It will come up pretty much everywhere.
Google will take you there.
Yeah, my practice is in King's Cross. I'm there for the last 4 years. The place is very warm, is very homely. I believe I've created a place to be less clinical, much more approachable, and from the feedback, you know, people who come to see me, they love the place. It's in a very vibrant, spot in the middle of King's Cross. So, yeah, it's a whole package. It's a
I
whole.
will second that. I have had the pleasure of visiting you in that space. It is the perfect location, the beautiful decor, some very comfy chairs. What more do you need?
And
Oh, Vidal.
And Vidal
always
will be there as well.
to invite you and to give you the keys if you want to. Otherwise, he's sitting very nicely and quietly in the corner of the room.
We love a therapy dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Gregory, I'm curious to know, you're still doing supervision work outside of the previous relationship of Tria?
That is my second part of my work now. Apart from seeing my people, I supervise other professionals supporting them through the lenses of Gestalt and somatic therapy. And this is a part I love because I've discovered the last few years that I actually love teaching. I actually love also supporting with many skills that are important when you see clients, and it's very rewarding. I love sharing my experience, and I'm actually believe I'm good at that. So when I have that solid a sense within myself, that gives me also more joy.
We can both vouch for you
Yes.
as a great supervisor
Yes.
and great teacher.
Thank
A
you, guys.
great teacher, and I've had the privilege, and I did share with you, I felt you're very generous in how you give to each and every student. So yes, I
Thank
would
you, Matt.
second that, and
Thank you.
absolutely. And your supervision sessions had been life-changing for me. So it's
Yeah,
been such a joy. It's been such a joy having you here, Gregory. And as our episodes build and continue, no doubt we'll be asking you to come back in the future, darling. So it's been wonderful having you here, and Vidal, and sharing the wisdom of Gestalt and from a queer perspective and a queer lens. And it really means a lot to us. And so thank you for your richness. Thank you for your authenticity. And thanks for being a fantastic, change maker. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. That was very,
Mm.
very, very lovely to be with you, and I felt actually quite relaxed and very warm, right now. So thank you very much for that opportunity also.
Thanks,
I think we're all
Gregory.
gestalting one another gently. This has got the
We
feels.
are.
We've
I'm
got
in the
gentle.
Gestalt Me Gently soup as well. I can feel it.
Oh,
All right, everyone. We'll see you next episode. Take care.
ciao.